The 2010s were an impactful era in horror movies, which saw something of a resurgence in the genre that delivered some true masterpieces. While the 2000s were populated by the so-called torture porn era of horror, the 2010s began to see the emergence of the so-called elevated horror movie trend, where emerging indie filmmakers would use the popularity of the genre to tell stories that delivered on scares and thrills while also telling more complex stories than are typically seen in horror movies. With this new movement, the 2010s ended up being one of the best decades for horror movies, with a number of films earning massive critical acclaim. It is a movement that is continuing on into the 2020s, with horror movies still pushing the boundaries for the kind of prestige filmmaking that can be done in the genre that was previously dismissed by critics. However, as the 2020s reach their halfway point, no release has been able to top the best horror movie of the 2010s. Get Out was the best horror movie of the 2010s. Jordan Peele's Oscar-winning movie was a cultural hit. Coming off of his hilarious sketch comedy show Key and Peele, there are few people who could have predicted that Jordan Peele would deliver the best horror movie of the 2010s with Get Out. However, Get Out was not just a fresh and clever entry into the genre, it was a cultural phenomenon that became one of the most talked about movies of the 21st century and introduced new concepts and ideas into pop culture. Get Out, about a young black man, Daniel Kaluuya, visiting his white girlfriend's family for the weekend, ended up being one of the best-reviewed movies of 2017, with 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. It also became a box office sensation, earning over $250 million worldwide, via Box Office Mojo, and proving once again that horror was one of the rare genres that could still find box office success with original stories. Even more rare for a horror movie, Get Out was nominated for 4 Oscars, including Best Picture, while Peele won for Best Original Screenplay. All the success and praise are justified as Get Out presented movie audiences with something completely new and engrossing. It was an intelligent examination of racism in the 21st century, tackling ideas that were profound while also being different from how the subject is tackled in other movies. It was also a bold movie that blended in comedy despite the dark subject matter, giving a unique tone. More importantly, the movie delivered on its horror elements with an unsettling vibe and new horror concepts, like the sunken place, that became instantly iconic. The 2020s are yet to produce a horror movie better than Get Out. Get Out helped 2020s remain a strong era for horror. Get Out's success helped to further solidify this new era of horror movies that is still going strong in the 2020s. However, while this current decade has delivered some modern masterpieces of horror, Get Out's legacy has proven impossible for any new movies to beat. The genre continues to go strong, with The Substance and Nosferatu proving once again that horror movies can and should be in the Oscar conversation, but these great movies fell short of the brilliance of Get Out. Just as Jordan Peele emerged as a horror voice to watch with his incredible debut, a few new horror directors of the 2020s have announced themselves as filmmakers to watch. T. West's X movies, including the hugely acclaimed Pearl, stood out as something new, while Zach Cregger's Barbarian took the elevated horror movement to some wild extremes. The Terrifier movies have also embraced the gory nature of horror again, but as impactful as all these films have been, none have given something as fresh and powerful as Get Out. One movie that comes closest to mirroring the success of Get Out is also one of the most recent horror releases of the 2020s. Sinners is another bold and genre-bending horror movie with Ryan Coogler using the genre to deliver genuine thrills. However, he also tells a complex tale with heavy themes and thought-provoking ideas mixed with brilliant filmmaking. Like Get Out, it is a movie that rewards multiple viewings, leading to strong box office as well as early Oscar buzz. However, as great as Sinner is, Get Out still has that quality of taking the audience completely by surprise with so many aspects of the movie. It came out of nowhere as this must-see event with a brilliant premise, exciting twists, hilarious humor, fantastic performances, and it had something to say about the world we live in. Could any upcoming horror movies top Get Out? Jordan Peele might be able to top his debut movie. While it is hard to top what Get Out accomplished, the 2020s are far from over, and there are still a number of high-profile horror movies that have a chance of topping the 2010s masterpiece. The return of a beloved horror franchise could have a shot as 28 years later is perhaps the most anticipated horror release of the year. Its first trailer also looks like a bold return to the zombie genre with the likes of Danny Boyle and Alex Garland involved. Following up on his acclaimed Barbarian, Zach Cregger's upcoming Weapons is also a hugely anticipated release this summer. The first trailer, which introduces the eerie premise of a teacher discovering that all the students in her class have suddenly disappeared, has only increased interest in the movie. Interestingly, Jordan Peele was passionate about the idea of possibly producing the film, which could speak to its quality, via Variety. Not surprisingly, it is Peele himself who stands the best chance of outdoing Get Out. While his subsequent movies, Us and Nope, didn't reach the level of acclaim as his debut, they proved he is a master horror filmmaker unlike any other working today. Peele's fourth movie is scheduled for release in 2026, and while there are no details about it yet, Peele's movies have become events, with the filmmaker calling it his favorite project to date.